Introducing Passport Bros, your ultimate travel companion. Download the app for free and embark on a journey where your adventures not only become unforgettable memories, but also opportunities to earn. With Passport Bros, your travel content is more than just photos and videos. It's your ticket to a fully monetizable network of like-minded adventurers. Imagine making money from your travel stories. Post videos, share your experiences, and let the world be a part of your journey. But that's not all. Connect with travelers from around the globe, join co-ed groups, and make lasting friendships, perhaps even with foreign women who share your passion for exploration. And here's the best part. Store your earnings securely in your Passport Bros wallet. No hassle, no worries. Just seamless transactions wherever your travels take you. Looking for the best local experiences? Passport Bros has got you covered. Get personalized recommendations for tour guides, rentals, and the hottest clubs in town. Did we mention the app is absolutely free to download? That's right. Your passport to a world of adventure is just a click away. And here's the cherry on top. With Passport Bros, you can make money while exploring new places. Turn your passion for travel into a source of income, right from your mobile device. So, what are you waiting for? Download Passport Bros now, share your journey, connect with fellow explorers, and let the adventure begin.
Download now on the App Store and Google Play.
Their identity,
like an Asian denial,
and even start to hate their own race.
Asian men are evil.
That cancer is white worship.
I just really like that milky complexion.
If you want to have gorgeous kids, marry someone not Asian.
Blue eyes, long hair.
White.
Yeah.
White worship is an irrational idolization of white or Western features, ideals, cultures, and lifestyles that cause Asians to view themselves as inferior.
I'm so Asian.
Yeah! Today, we'll be discussing the factors causing white worship and how to end white worship in the Asian community.
All right. We are going to stop it right there. What's going on, family? It's your man BMT in the building, and we got a big show today. I also have my man Flight Madness, return guest, my co-host for today, our Asian correspondent. He's been out there in China. How long you been out in China, Danny?
Almost 10 years now.
Okay, he's been out there almost a decade, so he would definitely be able to speak on this matter. This is a really good video. Before we get into the response, this is a really good video. It was put together very well by the content creator. I'm going to drop a link to the full video down in the description and also in the chat. Guys, can we take a look at this video? In terms of the video subject about, white worship, that can be considered to be somewhat of a global thing, okay, in all honesty. And I'm glad that this content creator made this video. Really excellent. The pacing is really good in the video. Probably some type of professional editor or something like that, or editor did it. So it's going to be kind of difficult to stop in certain parts because the pacing is so fast and hard hitting. But for the response, we got to stop the video at certain segments. All right. As far as the subject matter is concerned, white worship, before we get to that, though, I want to say that this is a subject that's rarely talked about, but it's very important. It is extremely important to go back into the history of white Euro colonization and the lingering effects it has on the world globally. Okay, it's still there. And I want to give this example real quick before we get into the video. I want you to think about how you as an individual, right? How you are loyal to certain brands. You're loyal to, let's say, a Nike, Reebok, or something like that, Apple, iPhone. Although you have much cheaper options, all right? And in some cases, we can just say the iPhone, right? You have Samsung or Android phones with almost better features in certain cases. But people are loyal to that brand of Apple. You got sneakers out here that sell for $200 in Nike, but you have some off-brand sneakers that can look the same, function the same, and those sneakers are $10 to $15 you can buy at the gas station. Now you're saying to yourself, yeah, I don't want to buy those sneakers at the gas station, but why? when it's the same functionality. The reason why is because these companies have successfully marketed to your subconscious mind. But you got two minds. You got your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. We're going to get to the video in a second, but I want to put this in dialogue because you can say it affects almost all of us, these branding. All right, this powerful branding that we have. Now, if you take the branding and you look at the families that pretty much own these mega corporations, if they can brand you to have some form of brand loyalty when you have so many options, they can also market to your subconscious mind. And when it comes to white worship, it's pretty much branded, ingrained to this in our subconscious mind. You know, I remember growing up and hearing a family member of mine telling the girls to stay out the sun. You know, we all kids playing outside. I'm not thinking nothing of it. And this affects mostly women more than the men to a certain degree. But, you know, guys want to be light-skinned and all that shit too. But I just remember that and wondering in my head for years, why did the girls have to stay out in the sun and the boys can play in the sun? So it starts at a really young age, right? The little subtle things that we all are affected by, which might not seem like a big deal, but you have the hair care industry and the skin bleaching industry, which is a $1 billion industry, basically. All right. So I want to put that in there in all context. Real quick, I want to shout out to my man Love Crossing Borders. Andre, shout out to you, man. I really wish you had a birthday, man. So shout out to you. Happy birthday to you. He says, good question. Let's go. All right. We're going to go ahead and hop in the video. Danny, did you want to say anything before we start?
I mean, this is a great video, y'all. I watched it earlier. He makes a lot of good points, and it's a very controversial talk I think we're about to have because, you know, maybe this will ruffle some feathers. But yeah, it's a great video.
All right, let's get to it.
It's important because white worship causes Asians to accept and perpetuate racist Asian stereotypes in Western societies.
I'll tell the kids if someone's driving really slowly or just cutting out to say, oh, you know, bloody Asian drivers, you know.
Asian culture is just super patriarchal and misogynistic. Asian culture is just not fun.
So I'm half Chinese, I'm half Scottish.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, I'm half Scottish below the waist.
This over time can cause Asians to become self-hating Asians who are racist against Asians.
Are you a little bit racist? I would say yes. It's actually what I call self-racism.
Those mixed race babies are gorgeous. And it's too late for my kids. They're full Asian.
One of my biggest
Wow. Man, sometimes what people say, and as you can see already with the internalized self-hatred, a lot of us are dealing with that as well.
Yeah.
Questions in high school was, believe it or not, like, to marry a white man, and so I could take his last name.
Yeah, I stopped it. I'm froze, but I did stop it. There you go.
Oh, okay. So just to touch on some points really quickly. So in the beginning, he defined white worship as the irrational idolization of white or Western features, ideals, cultures, and lifestyles that cause Asians to view themselves as inferior. And I kind of want to zero in on what he said. It said irrational. That is debatable. That is irrational. So, for example, one thing that the guy in the video just said, he talked about how like Asian culture is not very fun, or it's like something, he said it's like he said something about Asian culture is just not very fun to deal with. And I kind of agree with that. From the outside looking in, and based off what I know, like hanging out with Asians and seeing the kind of lives that a lot of Asians have to live, it does seem very stressful and not fun. And it does put a lot of pressure on the people, especially women. So it's not really surprising to me that women are kind of preferring to get out of that and go somewhere else. I don't really think it's that irrational.
Okay.
And lose my Asian name.
There are even Asians who are proud that they are disconnected from their Asian heritage.
I forget that I'm Asian sometimes.
Typically, people wouldn't think that I'm Asian.
Who make fun of their parents' accents.
Oh, very good man.
Brought shame to the family again.
And even argue in support of policies which discriminate against Asians. purely on the basis of race. Some will try to find every single excuse to attack Asian culture. I mean, check out this article by an Asian woman who somehow turned a story about 3 Asian women being assaulted by white men into a story about the oppressiveness of Asian culture. But did she mention Western culture? Of course not, even though the majority of crimes against Asian American women are committed by non-Asian men. And if you think that's bizarre, during a tennis match in 2024, an Asian American spectator called Chinese star Zheng Qingwen a yellow banana.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It gets even worse. Many Asians idolize Western beauty standards so much, they start suffering from body image issues and poor mental health, to the point of undergoing expensive and unnecessary cosmetic procedures. And
all right, I want to stop it right there. That's the big thing that I seen in Thailand. I saw a lot of Thai women. It was weird because they'll get the European nose jobs, right? So much so I even told a girl, I'm like, yo, you do not have to do that. But they'll get the European nose job, but they'll get the like Afro full lips. You know what I mean? So it's kind of I guess it's kind of a mix. But do you see that a lot in China where you at? Do you see a lot of plastic surgery to make them look a little bit more European?
Yeah. And the thing about China is like the surgery a lot of time doesn't even look good. It's like they kind of mess up their face. Like it's sometimes I think Asians, they focus on like one point. So they think, okay, I got like you'll see like a Asian girl, like a tiny Asian girl walking around like a freaking huge nose in China. And you're like, that doesn't look good at all. But to her, she thinks it looks good because like it's like a European feature, even though it doesn't fit the rest of her face. So I see crazy stuff like that all the time. And like I even saw like a while ago, like I saw like a Chinese girl, like a BBL, like a kind of fake looking BBL. And I was like, that looks disgusting. But I don't know. Like it's possible that Chinese guys think it looks good. Like Asian guys might think it looks good. But like for me, that kind of artificial looking thing is not very attractive. But you know, the Chinese guys, they're buying it for their girlfriends, so they must like it.
Do you think so, man? Because I know that when we saw that street interviews, a lot of black women said that black men like BBLs, and I'm like, no, we don't, not at all. Like you get that for yourselves.
There's probably a decent percentage. Like it's, you know, there's a lot of white guys who like fake breasts. So like even though it's like fake, they still like it because it just makes, you know. So there is probably a large percentage of guys who prefer that kind of artificial thing. And at the end of the day, money talks. So like if the women on those websites who are showing their bodies, if the fake body parts get with the women with the fake body parts, if they're making the most money, then that kind of shows like, okay, this is kind of what guys are going for. That's what they want to see.
Okay, I want to give a shout out to my man Tiberius in the house. Shout out to my man Tiberius with the $5 super chat. Man, I really appreciate that. He says, everyone loves the whites, even our sisters convert to them. Remember the paper bag test. The closer to whiteness, the closer to rightness. All right. Shout out my man Tiberius.
Yeah. He makes a good point. Look, there are lots of black people who think this way. Like I was thinking about this, like there are a lot of black people who have this internalized self-hatred against blackness. Yeah, like, you know, we can't just point it all at other races and be like, hey, like those Brazilian people, those Colombian people, like they, no, like there are a lot of black people in America who have like a lot of self-hatred.
You know, it's this book called The Iceman's Inheritance, right? And I but I think if you kind of want this type of information, this is one of those really good books that you should have in your library. And he talks about intellectual violence, right? And the Western media and how they, you know, every country that's been colonized and they kind of permeate their westernized, you know, media and control the standard of beauty to be whiteness, basically, right? So any country that's been somewhat colonized for a few years, when they left the remnants of colonization there on purpose. So a lot of countries that were quote unquote colonized and independent or free aren't really technically free. Like the countries in Africa just can't wake up and do what they want to do. So do they really have freedom? Even in certain Asian countries, you know, you got U.S. naval bases surrounding them. You see what I'm saying? Like it's still a system in place, basically. And what the book said was, hey, most other ethnicities of people do not understand European intellectual violence. They don't understand the other side of it. They just understand the missiles and the bombs and the harsh aggression. But what about the microaggressions when it comes throughout the Western media? Like it's just mind-boggling when you really think about it. For a person of light brown or brown skin or whatever skin to sit there and think something's inherently wrong with them for how they were born. When genetically speaking, scientifically speaking, the lighter your skin, in some cases, the worse off you are health-wise.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like a lot of people like fetishize like blue eyes, like lighter eyes or green eyes, but having darker eyes actually protects you from the sun more.
Right, and they're stronger for the most part. And having light skin can be detrimental with long periods of being in the sun. Right.
Yeah.
So it's we're not trying to be prejudiced or racist. Shout out all the white guys in the chat, but I'm just saying in general, if you think about it from just a health perspective, having melanin is actually a good beneficial thing. But let's continue with the video.
Some Asians just plain hate being Asian. All these harmful behaviors are symptoms of internalized racism, a condition linked to white worship. It's a form of self-hatred whereby Asians believe they are inferior because of their race. Internalized racism destroys people's confidence and self-respect, makes them feel helpless and even turn against their own race. The worst part is, people are often unaware of their own self-hatred and white worship. It's hard to break free from this cycle of hatred.
Facts. That's facts. So people are a lot of times just unaware. They don't even realize how they be sounding to other people. Like it's just little conversations you have. Like I was telling you earlier about my family member telling her daughters to stay outside, stay out in the sun because we don't want you to get too dark. Basically, it's the little thing. I remember another family member telling another child, once again a girl. We was all in the pool, and of course, in the pool there's no trees, and we all get darker in the summertime in Georgia. You know how we get. And he was just like, "Oh man, you getting black as hell!" Like it was a negative thing. And the good thing, the girl father was there to reinforce that. Yeah, you look beautiful. You have beautiful black skin, right? So it's just like all it's all in the mix of our, our different. Because what they did, which was so in a way intellectually violent and brilliant at the same time, was they know that melanated people come out in all different shades. So it's like a divide and conquer thing. If we can kind of place colorism on them, we can kind of have them divided to think that the lighter people are more valued than the darker people.
Yeah. And
it's even worse in Latin America. Go ahead, Ed.
Oh yeah, Ronan Travelers, he just left a comment about how like even within the black race, lighter skinned people. Okay, I have a story. Like, okay, when I was in university, I had this roommate. He's light skinned, the same as me, and like he wanted his like cousin or something. His cousin was like some kind of manager, and like she needed like a guy to like escort her to some kind of business function. And we were all just hanging out in our dorm room. Like for me, I didn't want to do it. Like I didn't want to escort his cousin or whatever. I didn't want to have to do with that. But there was another guy in the room. He's like darker skinned, like he's kind of, I don't know if he's African descent, but basically he's pretty dark skinned. Like he was offering to do it, right? And then like my roommate was like, nah, like it's maybe better for her image if she like brings like a lighter skinned person or something. So like that's the kind of like internalized racism we got. Like it's like even like a black person, they feel like they elevate their status if they hang out with a lighter or whiter skinned person for like their business functions. So I was just like, that really, it was kind of shocking. And the way my roommate said it, he just said it so casually, like he wasn't even like thinking like it was anything wrong with what he was saying. But yeah. Oh, are we frozen up? Is BMT there?
It's funny. It's funny you say that, man, because I'm frozen again. Yeah, I'm free.
Oh, it's okay. We hear you now. I think it was just like a lag of like 10 seconds. Okay. Yeah, y'all. Man, we tackling these tough issues, y'all. These issues they don't want to discuss in the mainstream media. You're here for this passport bro news, y'all. So Yeah, man, it's pretty interesting. But honestly, like, you know, I don't know what to say. Like, it's I'm gonna say it's not easy for Asian guys. Like, it's clearly, I have lots of Asian friends, and it's pretty clear. Like, Asian guys and Indian guys, they have it very difficult, y'all. You know, like a lot of us black guys, we like to make a big deal about how, oh man, like Asians are racist, but like honestly, like Asian guys, especially in America, like they just universally, like they have it very difficult. Um, Anywhere outside of their country, like anywhere outside of their country, they're just like not really the preferred race. You know, and I'm talking about the Asian phenotype, like Chinese, Japanese, and I'm also talking about India. So yeah, man, it's not fair, but honestly, like as a black person, especially black American, you're doing okay, man. Like, you know, you can come over here and like, and that's what we all care about, right? You all care about the women, right? That's all. Like, let's be real. Like, you don't care if some like old Asian lady is like, you know, racist. You don't, unless you're like going for, you know, those kind of milfs and cougars. But you know, you probably don't care. Like, what you care about is like, hey, if I go over to Asia, am I gonna get some action as a black guy? That's what you really care about. And for real, you'll be all right. You know. Like, is BMT back?
Yeah, we back. Sorry about that, family. Sorry about that. Okay, you know, I got this little Dominican Wi-Fi. Let me cue it up again. What were you saying, though, Danny?
Oh, I was just telling the guys how even though it might be difficult for some black guys, think it's difficult overseas, but Asian guys and Indian guys, they have it like the most difficult probably of anyone on this planet. So, you know, yeah, like this guy in the video, he probably has a difficult time unless he's like really tall. He probably has a difficult time like getting chicks in America. It seems pretty difficult for Asian guys unless you're like really handsome or really like athletic and tall. It's pretty difficult for Asian guys to have like the same kind of success as other races of men anywhere outside of Asia. Like inside of Asia, they can do okay. Like, you're an Asian guy, you're in Asia, so you're going to be the preferred one because you're in your country, like Asia, like you're part of the world. But anywhere outside of Asia or India, those guys have a very difficult time, it seems, universally.
Damn, that's true. I think a content creator, I forgot the guy's name. You sent me his video. He did a breakdown that was pretty much similar. I think he watched our video, our live on it. But what's that content creator name? He just did a video about race and dating globally. It was the little the light skinned brother with the little muscles and shit. You sent me the video.
Oh, his name is darn it, what's his video?
Right.
Austin something. Austin Dunham. 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 He's not light skinned. He's like brown skinned.
Okay, well, he did like a video, and I'm like, okay, he took our live and kind of summed it up better. But he was on point with what he was saying. He was telling the truth. The truth. And I think some of it is, I don't know how to say this without sounding insulting, but it could be grooming. Is some of the issues, maybe grooming, maybe some of these guys that are international might have different types of grooming habits. So they might reek of a certain odor, which that odor is like masculine in their society, but outside of it, it'd be musty. Right?
Yeah, like oh yeah, so like basically
then it's like, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was trying to catch what I was trying to think. Okay, like we're talking about like Indian guys, right? We're talking about how like a lot of them.
I didn't say Indian guys. You said that.
I mean, look, we all like we kind of know, like it's kind of like
African dudes be.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, like there are a lot of Indians over here in China, so like it's really noticeable. It's like I know one time, like a couple months ago, I was walking outside and there was like a group of Indian guys. I was like 20 feet away and I could like smell them all the way from where I was. There was like a big group of like Bangladesh and like whatever guys. So honestly, like it's real talk. Like I don't know what it is in their diet, or maybe it's just their phenotype, or I don't know what it is about them genetically.
They don't really wear deodorant. That's all.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was bad, bro. It was like, you know, I even had a friend from Bangladesh, and for him, like, I think his grooming was okay, but I think it's maybe just something in there. I think it's the diet, probably, like his diet and the lack of deodorant. It's just like it makes the body odor not great for them. So they have a look, guys. This is the stuff that other races have to deal with, like the Asian guys and the Indian guys. They have a lot of stuff that's going against. We're going to discuss it more in this video, but they have a lot of factors that are working against them that kind of makes it really difficult for them to get chicks the way that we can get chicks.
All right, I'm gonna give a shot again to my man Tiberius with a $5 super chat. He says, I dated a few Asian girls when I was in school. They told me their parent would kill them if they brought a black man home. They were only okay with the white boys. Yeah, you want to speak on that or?
Okay. Well, I've had a couple situations where, like, for me, I try to avoid meeting girls, their parents, because in China, as soon as you meet their parents, it's like you get like a lot of pressure to like get married or like lock the girl down. So I try to avoid meeting a girl's parents for as long as possible. But yeah, generally speaking, honestly, guys, like, sure, like there definitely are older people or just people in general who like their instant reaction to like seeing their daughter with a black man might be negative. But generally, it just depends how you're coming, man. Like what do you offer? Because remember, even it's not just about like black. It's about like, okay, for an Asian dad, he might be strict about who his daughter can marry in general. It's like Asian guys, they have a lot more crap to deal with than we have to deal with. Like they have to bring a lot more to the table to marry a girl. Like in China, Chinese guys have to like buy a house or buy a car, give the parents money. If they can't do that, then the guys, they might not be able to marry that girl. Like their parents might be like, no, like go marry a richer guy. As foreigners, we don't have to really deal with that. We just need to be like pretty decent financially and like not be a complete scumbag. And generally speaking, the parents would be okay with their daughter marrying like a foreigner or a black guy or whatever.
It's because of the social status and the ability to have a direct line to the land of opportunity.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out my man T-Mac, always showing support, man. Shout out to you out there in Colombia. He says, I know the subject is Asians, but not all of the Asians are the same. Well, not all Asians are the same. I was married to a Japanese woman for 12 years. Damn, T-Mac, you've been T-Mac a hell of a life. I got to interview T-Mac one day, man. I was married to a Japanese woman for 12 years, and I did not see white worship. Her family, Chinese, do prefer European features. Okay. Good point. All right, let's continue with this video.
Of internalized racism, a condition linked to white worship. It's a form of self-hatred whereby Asians believe they are inferior because of their race. Internalized racism destroys people's confidence and self-respect, makes them feel helpless and even turn against their own race. The worst part is, people are often unaware of their own self-hatred and white worship. It's hard to break free from this cycle of hatred. The more Asians experience white worship, the more likely they are to suffer from internalized racism, causing them to behave in ways that result in more white worship and more internalized racism. And we all know that believing you are inferior because of your race will destroy your mental health and the way you see yourself. If we know white...
Did y'all guys see that? Look how early it starts. Look how early this shit starts. It starts early, man. They get you early. And that's with everything. That's with everything. Even if you think about sports, the fact that so many people will sit around and watch TV or go and spend money to go to these games and stuff, just to watch a bunch of guys run around with a ball, a rubber ball or something. But we've been indoctrinated since childhood to like sports. You know what I mean? Like we've been since babies, we've been watching the sports, even though it's the most time wasting shit ever. Like, why would somebody care about it? Like, why you care about a bunch of grown ass men running around with some pigskin in their arms or, shooting balls through a hoop? We technically shouldn't care, but we care because we've been caring since we was babies. We were taught to care.
That believing you are inferior because of your race will destroy your mental health and the way you see yourself. If we know white worship is so destructive, then how come it's so common amongst Asians?
Yes, Europe is a garden. The rest of the world, and you know very well, Federica, is not exactly a garden. The rest of the world, most of the rest of the world, is a jungle.
European countries have a long history of invading other countries.
I want to stop this real quick. Shout out to my man Jet Black. He's always on the app, man. He's one of the big content creators on the Passport Bros app. He says, I know an Indonesian man who told his wife to throw out all the skin bleach Even many black people won't tell their wives that. That's very true. I just want to give a shout out to my man, Jet Black.
Enslaving the natives and establishing white supremacy. They believed they had racial and cultural superiority and felt they were superior human beings, civilizing the savage and backward people of Africa, Asia, and the Americas. White supremacy became embedded in society, and colonized people began to associate whiteness with power and beauty. Being white was viewed as ideal, and if you were not white, then you should be as white as possible. For example, in countries like India, British colonial rule solidified the cultural preference for lighter skin and Eurocentric features, while in Latin American countries, a common ideology is you should improve the race by marrying white people. It would also be impossible to discuss white worship without talking about the United States of America. After the genocide of indigenous Americans, a war for independence, and the end of slavery.
All right, so we're going to skip a little bit through the video because we kind of all, know the history lesson about, what happened in America. So we're going to slide through a little bit of the video. All right. And go towards more so the media.
Of opportunity. This resulted in mass immigration from all parts of the world. Over time, America would grow to become the most dominant superpower in the world, especially in terms of media and pop culture influence. American culture and Western culture by extension became the ideal for the world to aspire to. But while America was said to be this place where everyone had the opportunity to succeed, it was still very much a country rooted in white supremacy.
Okay, I want to stop it there real quick because he kind of briefly went over the Western media and Hollywood and everything. I've been saying this since I started on YouTube when I had like 3-4 subscribers. I was like, listen, man, one of the things institutions you want to control within your own community or else society basically is film, movies, television. Is so powerful. It's the most powerful medium that's ever been invented. All right, looking at visuals, looking at images. And if you don't control certain standards within it, like the standard of beauty, basically, then it can inject almost a self-hatred of yourself if you don't look like the person on the screen. The reason that a lot of us generally, I'm not going to say we technically worship white people, but are so accepting, and we see that when we see the tall white dude, we look like he's a superhero and everything, is because we grew up with them being the superheroes, being the Superman. All right, being Wonder Woman and everything like that. These have a almost crazy effect on our mental growing up, And yeah, we might have some black characters here and there. You got the black G.I. Joe man and everything, but it was always as a minority or as a sub character in assistance to the white alpha character. Meaning, like, how many times and how many movies do we see the black dude that's helping the white dude achieve his goals or save the day? We always in that assistant role. As a matter of fact, I believe it was Will Smith who turned down the Django because he said in the script, he said, well, wait a minute, the white guy is pretty much the smart character, in the script. I want to be, the alpha in the script for the most part. We know Jamie was technically the vengeful character. He was the A-role character in that role, but Will Smith identified as like, wait a minute, I'm not even that guy, because he knows how powerful these images are. So that's the role that Western media plays all over the world, is very effective. That's really what it is. This is why so many cultures demonize black and worship white. It's because they look at white movies and white media in a nutshell.
Yeah. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, Asians were said to be a threat to white society, resulting in murders and hate crimes against Asians. In the late 1900s, Asians were blamed for the economy, resulting in murders and hate crimes against Asians. And nowadays, well, nothing's really changed. I mean, America literally has $1 billion bill to spread anti-China propaganda.
Hold on, we'll get to Trump in a minute. But I want to shout out my man T-Mac. He makes a real good point, man. I remember this movie. I think it was the movie with the shark, right? LL Cool J was the first black man to live beyond the opening credits in a horror movie. I know, what? I was the only one that thought about that growing up. I used to always think in my head, I'd be like, damn, I hope the black character lived, but like, why in some of these movies, the first person to die be the black man? That shit. I know that shit in so many movies. I was like, matter of fact, one of my favorite movies, Jurassic Park, the very original Jurassic Park. In the first 30 seconds, you got a black man getting ate up by a velociraptor. I'm like, damn, that was a hell of a You know, I'm like, damn, you know, like, okay, this is the first scene in the movie. He can ate up by a damn dinosaur. I'm like, damn, okay.
Yeah, I remember seeing that joke. Remember that movie series? I think it was called Scary Movie, where it was like a comedy. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember like one of the Wayans brothers. I think he made that joke, like, or someone like, I'm gonna die in the movie. It was something like, when I was a kid, I was aware of that because it was like a joke going on back then.
Right.
China.
We don't want to go too deep into politics, but we're going to play this little part.
China.
And let's not forget how all Japanese Americans were sent to
BMT, your Wi-Fi is breaking up pretty badly. Can you go back like maybe 20 seconds?
All right.
China.
And let's not forget how all Japanese Americans were sent to internment camps during World War II, or how the dehumanizing model minority stereotype was forced onto Asian Americans, a constant reminder they can never be an equal American without being white. To this day, Asian Americans still have to overcome additional challenges in all areas of life because they are Asian. So imagine you are an Asian born in America, and everything around you is telling you white people are better than you, and you are inferior for being Asian. When you take all that into consideration, you can start to understand why so many Asians in the West develop some level of internalized racism and white worship.
Go ahead.
Okay, it was kind of breaking up a little bit, but like, okay, the part where it brought up Donald Trump and Donald Trump was like, China. Okay, so right now, the world is pretty much kind of anti-China. Like, it seems like the vast majority of places in the world are kind of anti-China. And there's like a big, you know, there's lots of money that's like going into like the media, like it's anti-China, like pretty much Western media. Like, people message me all the time, crazy stuff about me living in China. Like, you know, even though I'm American, I still, because I'm in China, I get like negative associations sometimes just for being here. Mm-hmm. That all those billions of dollars going into like the anti-China propaganda, it affects Asians. So if you look Chinese or you look whatever, it's gonna negatively affect you because like you're seeing so much anti kind of Asian stuff on the internet and TV every day, and that's gonna negatively affect you, even if you're not specifically, because you know Americans can't tell the difference between like Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, and you know they do look pretty similar, although they do have their differences. But yeah, basically it's a lot of stuff that's like makes it very difficult to be Asian. So I don't necessarily agree that it's irrational. It's irrational to want to disassociate yourself with that because there's just so many negatives that come with it that Asians have to deal with.
You know what's crazy, because I understand where he's coming from totally, but at the same time, it's like with us as Black people, we got to deal with a whole nother side of that coin, because in every city, for the most part, Asians, and I don't know exactly which ones, but for the most part, they have their own little business districts in these cities. Like in Atlanta, it's Buford Highway, right? So I'm sitting here like, so at least you have that. At least you was able to segment your own small economy within our country, whereas the Black Americans that's been here the whole entire time before the country ever even existed, all our Black Wall Streets were burnt down. All our business districts, we're not even allowed to have business districts in our own community. Like they'll build a highway through, they'll zone it out, they'll do whatever they can do if they find out that there are more than several Black businesses back to back rotating or recycling the money within our own community. So that's the thing. It's just like, well, I understand what he's saying, but economic wise, it's just like, well, at least you might be dealing with that on a social aspect, but we got to deal with that on the most worst aspect, which would be the economic aspect. So, you know.
But we are just getting started. White worship and self-hatred can be intergenerational, passed down from parents to children.
What do you guys think about Asian boys? Look over there.
Well, that's a whole older Asian man, but okay.
My mom told me just like since I was a young girl that not to be with an Asian guy.
Why? Well, actually,
I have no explanation.
Is your dad Caucasian or is he Asian?
I mean, you got Black women that don't want their daughters to be with a dark-skinned brother. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen that as well.
Yeah. I think this kind of thing here about the mom. This is definitely an Asian American thing. Like over here in like China, like parents want their kids to probably date an Asian. Like if they're like born and raised in China, but like if her mom is like an immigrant to America or an immigrant to some foreign country, she probably does want her daughter to like integrate out and probably date like a white person because it gets her into that society where the parent probably grew on the outside of society.
I mean, that's been going on for quite some time too. Like this is nothing kind of new when it comes to white men and Asian women. You got the Keanu Reeves out here. Like that's a whole little thing. I remember I was in a shop one day. Let's just say a shop in Thailand, and this Russian guy was just like, Aaron, Asian women love this white skin, and I was like, man, good for you. They actually love that shit everywhere when you think about it. So
wait, you were with a white guy in like a barbershop? Where were you?
No, I was in a what do you call those things? Smoke shop, basically. Right. I was in a smoke shop with actually a girl from Kazakhstan. She was Korean and Kazakh. Like, so her mom was basically like, no, I'm sorry, she was Kazakh and Russian or something like that. She was mixed, basically. And I remember how she used to jokingly talk about her features, about her flat face and her round face. And I used to be like, okay, like to me, I was like, why are you talking about your natural? Like, why are you talking about the Asian side of your features as there's something wrong with it? You are who you are. Mm. And what threw me off was on Halloween, she made herself like a face of a pumpkin, right? And it was like all the little Europeans were kind of laughing at her with the, the oval face or whatnot. And I was just like, why'd you do that? Like, why are you self-hating a side of yourself and co-signing your European friends or your Russian friends jokingly making fun of you? Like they're laughing at you, not with you. And that just really just threw me off. Like it just threw me off. I'm just sitting here like, that's like me putting on blackface to entertain my white friends or some shit. Or having a watermelon in my hand. Like, like that's, come on, man. That's just cringe.
Yeah. Father's white. He's German.
I was a teenager and I was with my mother, and we started talking about guys that I would date. Who would I marry? And I remember she said it very matter of fact. She was like, yeah, you most likely will marry a white guy.
My family brought me up to be very assimilated. If I see a bad driver that cuts me off, I'll go, are they Asian? And my reaction was, oh, you're Asian, you can't read.
Like racism, white worship is learned behavior. No one is born thinking white people are superior or I must marry a white person to improve the race. In addition, many Asian immigrants in Western society believe in assimilation. They don't teach their children anything about their Asian heritage and culture. And when Asian parents make that mistake, you end up with young Asians who have no connection with their Asian background.
I want to speak on that real quick because that happens in a lot of cultures for the most part, right? We've all had that homeboy who was, mom was Dominican or something like that didn't speak Spanish. You'd be like, bro, I feel you technically Dominican, but you don't even speak the language. Like I have dated women who are, American, but Latina American, and they don't teach their kids Spanish. And then you have a friend of mine who's close to me that looks like a Latino guy, and people are so shocked when he's in Colombia and he doesn't speak Spanish. It just throws everyday like, wait a minute, how you don't speak Spanish, right? Same thing kind of what I be dealing with here to a certain degree because it's the same thing here. Like, I'm black, but people might think I'm a dark-skinned Dominican, and they be shocked when I don't speak fluent Spanish. They just be like, you don't speak Spanish, man? Like, what the? It's just like, but you black, like why you don't speak Spanish? So that's very true in what he's saying. I think that's a big disservice to the parents if they do not teach the children anything about their original culture or heritage. But that happens a lot, especially now with all these single mothers.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe the parents they had a difficult time. It's like being an immigrant is like you kind of are working hard to integrate yourself into society. So maybe they think that by teaching their kid a foreign language, it's kind of going in the opposite direction of what they slaved so hard for, coming to the country. That's kind of my guess anyway. And oh yeah, I want to. These guys are talking about China. Look, guys, if the propaganda, I don't want to say the word propaganda as if it's fake. Like I don't want to say like, oh, it's all fake propaganda, but that's just the word I'm using to like represent what people put out about China. If it's negative about China, it's going to reflect badly on Chinese people. So, for example, I'm American, and whenever America does something bad, or not even bad, like if it's perceived as bad by people in a certain country, it's going to look badly on me. Like, trust me, I've been in China for 10 years, and whenever America does something or the American government does something that the local people here in China don't like, it reflects badly on Americans. So the same thing for Chinese people.
I want to give a shout to my man, Love Crossing Borders, Andre. Once again, he makes a really valid point. Asians were never allowed to get business loans in their own areas, but they were allowed to get loans, basically white areas, to get loans to open in black areas where black people couldn't get loans. So we've all seen the Asian-owned grocery stores in the hood. Like that's pretty, with the old ass meat and shit like that, and the outdated products with the little markers, cover and everything like that. I remember we had a little Asian grocery store in Atlanta, like our Sylvan Road, and it was like just the most dirtiest, smelliest grocery store ever. And I'm not saying about all Asian grocery stores, nothing like that, but it was funny because I remember going to a grocery store off Buford Highway where they kind of shop at, and the store was just pristine, beautiful, clean, fresh fish swimming around the little tanks and everything like that. I was like, yeah, this is okay. So y'all grocery store on point, but the ones y'all put in the hood just on some dirty shit. Okay, I got you there. I peeped that. All right, but let's talk about a little bit more about Western media. And he has a valid point now. Hollywood's been doing this shit for years. I mean, they typecasting black people, so we all know all about this. We've been the pimp, the player, the gangster, the drug addict. We all know.
Western media has an obsession with dehumanizing, denigrating, and erasing Asians, especially Asian men. In Hollywood, the majority of Asian characters are joke characters. It's genuinely bizarre how many high-profile Asian actors have spoken about being pressured to play a racist stereotype. And
that's real though. Think about it for a second, Dad. Think about it. Hangover, the little Asian dude in the Hangover. All right.
Oh, that's terrible, man. That was worse. That was like the worst.
The Asian cat in Mad TV. I know I'm showing my age now. Mad TV, the little short Asian cat on Mad TV. All right. Hold on. Let me just. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna just play this without mute so you can see some of the clips.
I think it was like Johnny Woo. I used to watch Mad TV. It's funny, man. Like when I was watching it as a kid.
Yeah. And he's hilarious. He's hilarious, but he's like extra, kind of like fruity hilarious. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like very effeminate, like, and look, it honestly doesn't help that, like, from an American perspective or Western perspective, a lot of Asian guys, they can come off as kind of feminine and like don't seem very masculine physically. So like, look, like if he was like 6 foot something and like jacked, he wouldn't be able to be punked so easily. But because a lot of Asians are kind of small and tiny and kind of we might consider them kind of feminine. From a Western perspective, it's very easy for like the media, whenever they put like an Asian person in there, it's very easy for them to emasculate him pretty much.
You know what's funny? I remember, and this is how powerful the media is, Danny. I remember I was in Thailand. I was at this little restaurant that's basically in the apartment complex, and I seen, I guess you want to say a Asian alpha male. Like you gotta know it, right? Chest out, big, tall, like, and it just was so shocking to me because I had never seen that in person. I had been inundated with all the images of what he's saying right now, like the little funny stuff, the little goofy stuff and all that. But this dude, like, he can whoop like 5 dudes' asses. He was a big, I think he was Japanese or something. But you can look at him and be like, okay, that motherfucker will kill everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he's one of the bloodline of the samurais or something, because you can look at him and tell he about that action.
Yeah, like Mongolians or something. Like Mongolian guys, I think historically are pretty decently big, or they have like pretty decent muscle mass. Really, I think Asian guys, like, they gotta bulk up. Like if you're like a skinny Asian guy with no muscle, it's like, people aren't gonna be threatened by you no matter how tall you are. Like if you're just like a thin Asian guy, it's like, They gotta, and they don't really have that culture in Asia of like guys wanting to lift weights and get bulky, so that kind of works against them too.
And I want to talk about this real quick. I just had it on the screen. Hold on. We all know about Stockholm syndrome, right here. Psychological response where a captive begins to identify closely with his or her captors, as well as their agenda and demand. So we know a lot about Stockholm syndrome because I would consider a large percentage of Black Americans definitely have Stockholm syndrome. Like that's very true. And you know what I hate? I hate when I used to hang with not necessarily hang, but I hate when white dudes or say something racist towards another race. Like I'm stupid enough to be naive that they won't say the same thing about me being Black. You know, I remember when a white dude, I was in Alabama, and he said something like "sand nigger" or something like that, right? And of course I went, saying what? And he was like, "Yeah, those Arabs and this, that, and the other." And I'm like, "Okay, should I slap him? Should I hit him?" I'm confused now. Like, because he's talking about, but he said the N-word basically, but I'm like, he's saying it about the Arabs that just pissed him off in the gas station or something like that. And I'm like, okay, should I swing on him? Like, what do I do here? You know? So I hate that, but let's continue.
So let's talk about the overwhelming racism against Asians in Western society. Whenever you see an Asian guy dating a white girl on social media, the comments are always full of racial abuse.
Hey, look,
an Asian person
that Asian guy right there, if you go back, that Asian guy with that redhead white girl, that's a pretty decent looking Asian guy, right? So like in order for like so that guy, he's decently good looking. I mean, no homo, right? No homo, right? But I'm just saying, like,
I gotta put a pause on that, Danny.
Yeah, I'm just saying, y'all. No, but really, it's like, okay, if you're like a kind of decent looking guy, it's kind of the same for Black guys. It's like, you know, if you're good looking or like attractive, you're gonna get less hatred compared to like if you're like not attractive, man. Like, you know, so this guy, because he's like pretty decent looking, he can pull that girl's pretty hot. Like the girl he's with is pretty hot. So if he pulled her in America, you know, and America is really difficult for Asian guys. So this guy, he must be you know, having something that she likes. Yeah. Anyway,
I think women in general just love, not only they love like mixed kids and everything, they just like doing something different, bro. And that's just a human nature trait, you know. Like I think when they found out that I had like 2% Japanese in my family and DNA test, everybody got excited or something. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, I told you we had some Asian in us, because some of my family members have Asian eyes or slanted eyes, right? I don't know if that's a derogatory term, but you know what I mean. Like the eyes some of my family members have, like literally, one of my little nephews, if you put him in Thailand, you would think he was Thai, right? So I'm sitting here like, why are we excited about all these different bloodlines in our bloodline? Like we got Irish, white, Asian, like we don't know what the hell kind of, you know, colonization or rape was going on out there. But I mean, back then, but I just think women in general just like to just mix it up, like men like to mix it up. No, I think it's a difference with women because women might get shamed a little bit more than the men. You know, like it's one thing for a man to bring home, and they'll get shamed by the moms and shit, but generally men, I would say, unless they coming from some form of wealth or something like that, or some type of status bloodline within that family, I think most men don't give a damn who they sons bring home.
Yeah.
It's a big difference in a young man bringing a exotic woman home. It's like a high five on the low than a woman bringing a man home. Especially if especially if it doesn't make sense, right? Like, okay, if you NBA player or some shit, of course they don't. Okay, yeah, love Black men, but if you just a regular Smo Joe, it's gonna be like, well, why you pick him over the Asian guy or the white guy? Like, he's a plumber too. Why you didn't pick your own race type shit? Somebody said the Asian Russell Wilson.
Yeah. The BMT's Wi-Fi go. Okay, yeah. I don't know. BMT, your internet's kind of chopping up a little bit. But like, I had like a Korean friend in university, and he like dated this really hot white girl who was like from Sweden or something. And he was telling me how he would get high fives from all his friends just for like dating like a super hot white girl. So yeah, it's definitely, guys get high five for like taking another racist women, but women get like, kind of put down for like being taken by another race. So I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah, am I still bugging out? Or are we good?
You're good now.
Even blame high-achieving Asian students for causing anxiety for white students. Bloody hell, some people sure get salty when they lose to an Asian person. And don't forget Western society's #1 rule, collective punishment. When one Asian does something wrong, all Asians are to blame. All Asians are apparently anti-black because one Asian cop didn't help George Floyd.
We Asian Americans have weaponized our proximity to whiteness in order to murder black people.
All Asian men are misogynistic because some Asian girl's dad was misogynistic.
Now, one thing I will say about this is really true, and it's unfortunate that they do this. And the only people they don't, and he's gonna talk about this in the video, so I'm not gonna reveal this part. But I gotta say, the brother Tariq Nasheed definitely does this. He's like a master at this, which makes him somewhat dangerous. If you guys know who Tariq Nasheed is, some of you don't. But it's just like, how can one person, one individual that made a decision dictate the whole feeling of millions of people, or the mindset of millions of people? That just doesn't make any sense, right? So if you got one African guy that says something like a Nakata or says something negative about Black America, that's just not all Africans, right?
Yeah, it happens for everybody too.
White people, despite the fact many women don't even have rights to their own bodies in Western countries. And of course, all Asians are to blame for a virus originating in China, especially the defenseless Asian elderly living in America. I bet some people genuinely believe all Asians are the same person. You know, let's illustrate Western double standards for a second. For example, mass shootings are frequent in America, often committed by white men, but no one blames every single white person for every shooting, or say all white people are violent. In fact, the opposite happens. Race suddenly becomes irrelevant when a white person commits a crime.
Facts. All day facts. And I be telling guys, I be like, for the guys that be like, black men ruin Colombia, black men ruin the DR, black men this, black men that. And I be like, well, how? Because the stuff that we be doing. I'm like, man, have you ever visited, outside? Like, have you ever went to Thailand and hung out with some Aussies or some Irishmen or something like that? Like, this whole standard of whiteness can not do no wrong, bro. We really have internalized that so heavy within our own community. Like, it's just baked in that a white person can do no wrong. That white person can go out and eat 10 people, and they're like, well, that's for that individual black person. But then a black person go out and eat 10 people. Now black people are eating people.
Yeah,
I hate that shit, man. I really hate that shit. I hate that shit, man. I hate when people be like, this, that, and the other. It'd be one story of a black dude that did some fuck shit in Colombia, and now it's the black men are going to Colombia for this specific reason.
Yeah.
That it's, oh, they just had a bad day, or it's because they are mentally unwell, or hey, let's try to redirect the blame onto a minority instead. And how come people don't blame all white people for the crimes of white media elites, or talk about how problematic Western culture is when criminals committing crimes against children are constantly defended? I mean, look, the white American presidential candidate has done all kinds of questionable shit, yet we don't make generalizations about all white people because of his actions, even though he wants to and has represented America.
Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
And let's not forget everyone's favorite, white people in countries like America and Australia telling Asians to go back where they came from. And if you are one of those people, I'm pretty sure the indigenous population would love it if you, your parents, and your ancestors all f***ed off back to Europe. But here we are. Now, I guarantee someone is typing in my comments right now, Hans, you shouldn't blame all white people for the actions of individual white people. That's racist and illogical. You should stop doing that. You should stop doing that. Stop doing that. Yeah, no. So stop doing it to Asians. Basically,
stop doing it to everybody. How about that? Don't stop doing it to everybody else besides white people. All right. And shout out to my white people, man. We're not trying to beat up on y'all. We just talking the real. Somebody said, I remember when Tariq was in Brazil. Yeah, I remember that too. Tariq switched it up. He switched it up on everybody. Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right, okay, good point. BMT, remember the white dude deleted the woman in Colombia, but nobody talked about it? No, they didn't. It was in the media. If that had been a black man did that, oh shit. They would have banned black people from Colombia, bro. Black men from Colombia.
Yeah.
Western society, if you are white, you are
I saw that Trump video. Like, there's no way Obama would have got elected if he had all those felonies against him. There would have been no discussion.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. All right, so we're gonna skip a little bit through the video, a little bit, push it up a little bit. All right, here we go. Damn it.
Everyone facing discrimination.
We don't know if it was unprovoked. What did he do to get attacked?
You know, let's talk about this another time. For now, what's important is we are aware there are many factors working together to cause white worship in the Asian community, which is why there are so many self-hating Asians who are victims and perpetuators of white worship and racism. Essentially, self-hating Asians act in ways which normalize and encourage racism against Asians. It's a perpetual cycle of white worship. White supremacy and racism against Asians lead to white worship and internalized racism, creating self-hating Asians who reinforce white supremacy and racism against Asians.
Okay, can we stop here for a second, BMT?
Because, well,
can we go back to this image he just posted, like the little triangles where he goes like, I want to go back. Yeah, right here. So self-hating Asians. One thing about Asian culture is that it seems to breed feelings of inferiority or not feeling good enough in the people there. This seems to be true for especially Chinese and Japanese culture. Basically, it seems to be in their culture, like it's their way of kind of keeping people like, don't be too ambitious or don't try to rise above. It kind of helps breed conformity. It's like in a lot of Asian cultures, they just kind of having too much pride and having too much confidence. That's like a negative thing. So that kind of it could be self-hatred. Like it might be self-hatred, but I just know like specifically in Asia, they kind of being too confident and being too like proud is not good.
Okay. So you basically saying that like it's kind of like just blend in with everybody else, don't kind of stand out too much, because that's what I heard too.
Yeah. And it probably manifests as self-hatred. Like, if you're raised to think like, hey, I shouldn't be too proud or I should be shy or not too confident, you might, look at other people as better than you. So I think it's kind of one of those self-reinforcing things in a lot of Asian cultures.
Okay. So in your opinion, you've been out there for 10 years. Are you identified with what he's saying? Is this what you see on like an everyday basis? That's like little white self-hating Asians and white racism and all that.
In general, it definitely seems like there's a lot of preference, like especially for the girls. Like we already know, like the girls who like go to the foreigner club, they kind of probably have a little bit of a self-hatred thing going on. Like, they don't like the fact that they're, especially here in China, it's like they might not like the fact that they're Chinese. They got to like deal with all the Chinese culture stuff that they know it's not cool. They know like the media and the rest of the world kind of looks down on like China, and it's not cool to be Chinese. So like they might reach out and like just prefer like get away from that. It's like the reason they date foreigners because they want to like kind of get away from that and just go somewhere else. So, but it's not as strong here, though. I think it's probably girls are a lot more open-minded. We're talking about dating right now. I'm talking about dating in general. I think that's what most guys talk about. Most guys care about. It seems like girls are generally more open to like dating many different races of guys compared to maybe 10 or 20 years ago, where it seemed like white was like the best option. Now they know there's many different options.
Okay. All right.
Racism against Asians. Self-hating Asians are especially harmful because, well, they are Asian. This often allows them to be blatantly racist against Asians without any pushback. Racists will weaponize them, essentially using them to validate their racist opinions. Upstanding individuals who are against racism are less likely to challenge self-hating Asians when they make racist statements against Asians, and people without any preconceived notions about Asians are likely to be negatively influenced by the racist viewpoints of self-hating Asians. Now somehow, quotation marks, self-hating Asians are often the ones who are chosen to represent the Asian community in Western society. I'm very thankful I grew up in Asia before going to a Western country for university. I saw the best and worst of both worlds, and I know what it feels like to be treated as a person and just another Asian. And I understand all societies are flawed because we humans are flawed. And the fact is, we are all humans. Which is why it's honestly disappointing to see so many Asians who are not proud of their heritage, who hate who they are, Asians who genuinely believe white people are inherently superior. White worship, like racism, is learned behavior. And now that we understand all the factors causing white worship, it's time for us to end it. First and foremost, understand, it's okay to be Asian. You are equal to everyone else, regardless of what racists want you to believe. So critically analyze negative messages you hear about Asians. Ask yourself, do those negative messages about Asians actually apply to all humans, not just Asians?
This is really powerful what he's saying right here. This is probably one of the most important parts of the video, guys, because we can kind of listen to this for ourselves as well. As most people in the chat are going to be Black Americans for the most part, white Americans too. We can really listen to this.
And whether they are being spread by people actively trying.
That's pretty. I always thought she was pretty too. I used to like her.
To undermine you and your value as a human being. For example, all the negative stereotypes about Asians in Western society were created and perpetuated by people who benefit from white supremacy. And objectively, any human being can have those negative qualities, regardless of race. The very same negative Asian stereotypes don't exist in Asian countries. In fact, Asians are doing great. The fastest swimmer is Asian. The best baseball player ever is Asian. Asians.
The best baseball player ever? I don't know about that, bro.
Have been dominating weightlifting for ages. There are plenty of Asian CEOs and other fantastic role models. You have the ability to think critically, so don't just blindly accept negative messages society wants you to believe about yourself.
We can really listen to that, what he just said.
We must also actively bring awareness to all the factors causing white worship in the Asian community. Most minorities in Western societies grow up being taught they are.
Look at that. It starts so young, man. It starts so young.
Inferior because they are not white. Remember, internalized racism can be subconscious, and if white worship is all you have ever known, and you are not aware it's a learned condition, then you might never overcome it. To solve any problem, you must first be aware the problem exists. So
I remember I was watching this vlog of a I don't know what happened to this little couple, but it was a dark-skinned brother and an Indian woman. They were probably in their 20s or something. They had 2 kids, right? The kids came out actually looking pretty much all Indian, believe it or not. The girl and the son, and the Indian, her grandparents came over to see the kids, and the first thing her grandma said on camera was just like, she looked at her grandbaby and she was like, he's too dark. And I was just like, wow. And the kid looked like an Indian. Like, he just looked like a regular Indian. He wasn't even looking like, he wasn't as dark as his father at all. The kid looked like a regular Indian, brown skin. So this is worldwide. It's just not Asia. This is just lingering effects of colonization, basically.
Let's all do our part, because no one deserves to live life believing they are inferior. We must also actively fight back against racism, because like it or not, your race matters and affects every aspect of your life, from daily social interactions to employment and even housing. Because it doesn't matter if you are a third-generation Asian American, you will still be a target of racism, because racists don't care about your nationality or where you were born. They care about your race, and people will make decisions about you based on stereotypes they have heard about Asians. I mean, look, American politics is pretty much all about race and identity politics. So don't be passive or apathetic about matters relating to race. All
right, so I think that pretty much sums up the video. Really good video. This was deep, man. This crossed all ethnicities. It's just not Asians. It's really heavy in Latin American countries too. North America, we all kind of deal with, like I say, these lingering effects of white colonization and Europeanness. He makes a really good video, really good point. I want to put that out there. It's a good video. I'm gonna drop the original video if you want to watch the video in its entirety. I just dropped it in the chat. All right. Danny, anything did you want to say?
I see a comment from Chris Blue. He says everyone in Asia was originally African, but mixed with whiteness, and there came all the foolishness. So here's the thing, y'all. I get the point that you're making, Chris, but like, you know, I don't like trying to force people to be associated with blackness or Africanness if they don't want to be. So it's like when I hear comments from people like this, like, oh man, like people were originally African and they, you know, but like, you know, it's pretty clear, like in general, Asians don't want that association. Like they push that away. That's not what they want. So it kind of like, you know, if people don't want to be associated with us or be associated with blackness, you know, don't force them, man. It's like, you know, it's their problem, not ours.
Good point. Very, very, very good point. And it's funny, man, because I think they just did a study and saw that Asians have like some African DNA or something like that. They was all shocked and shit. So, you know, people can internalize that the way they want to. We all know that for the most part, it's not going to be an issue in our travels. Like, I can honestly say, being a black man in Asia, at least in the Southeast Asia, in the countries I went to Cambodia and Thailand. I lived in Thailand for a while. I didn't really see any major issues with the people. I didn't have any incidents of prejudice or racism or anything like that. As a matter of fact, it was the choosing was so hard, and you know, the women, it's just like it's almost you could be overwhelmed by it. And I know that guys go to these countries, or not countries, but they go to like little certain sections, and you see that, you know, oh, they just doing that because they want money and all this stuff. But I'm gonna be honest with you. In, you know, some of these countries, some of these areas, being a black man, they're gonna be on you. They're gonna be on you more than the Asian guy, in some cases, even more than the white guy. So it all depends, man. It all depends. All right. Well, guys, it's been a great show. Hope you like the response video. Peace. Till next time.
See ya.